and told her mother that if she had to go through with this marriage, then she would kill herself. Umi was a very beautiful and enchanting young girl. She was the only daughter and the youngest of 5 siblings, and was the daughter of the king. Saraki Dogara, her father, was known to have brought wealth and expansion to his people. He was well respected and reverend. She lived in a village where women were relegated to the background and only seen as caretakers of the home. Umi was a bright girl and had a promising future. She attended a university in town and came home during the weekend. Even at the university, she was given special care and attention. She was allowed on campus with 2 of her maids. She had 2 rooms to her and her maids on campus. Umi was well taken care of and lacked nothing. Umi was studying to be an architect and was fascinated by structures and buildings, and hoped to create and have buildings designed by her someday. Whenever she shared these dreams with her father, he would shake his head in mock laughter and say, "Umi, a woman's duty is to have children and take care of the family." As much as her father had transformed the village into a commercial hub, bringing in development for his people, his thinking was still very much archaic. So were her brothers and more people in her village. It took a lot of begging and pleading before her father let her go to the university. She was determined to prove she could also contribute to the village development and hopefully inspire other women and young girls to dream and pursue their dreams. While in her second year, Umi met Issa. He was a handsome and intelligent student just like her. He was studying engineering. He came from a prestigious family in a neighboring village. His father was a chief and a well-known wealthy merchant across towns and villages. Issa was kind, loving, and very supportive of her dreams. He was a perfect gentleman. She felt lucky she had such a friend. As the months went by, their bond deepened and they both fell in love with each other. They both had agreed to prioritize their studies and further pursue their relationship once they graduated. During her 3rd year in the university, she had gone home as usual that weekend. During dinner, her father had told her it was high time she got married, as she was already 20 and most of her maids had been married with kids. She promised her father to let her complete her university, since it was just a year left, after which she would get married. Umi and Issa had agreed to go see her parents after she graduated. She was excited to introduce him to her parents. After her graduation ceremony, she got home to see her parents had thrown a lavish party in the village on her behalf. She was ushered in to go into the house, freshen up, and come join the party. Her maids dolled her up in a very beautiful attire, almost as though she was getting married. She didn't think much of it and was excited to join the party. As she was brought out by her maids, everyone at the party turned to look at her with smiles on their faces. Her father stood on a podium in front of the gathering with his friend Chief Jatua. As she reached the podium, her father stepped down with a warm smile and hugged her. He told her of how much he was proud of her, and she smiled back at her father, feeling proud. He brought her up the stadium. She stood on his left, while Chief Dogara stood to his right. The next words her father spoke shocked Umi. "Today is the happiest day of my life. Today I'll be handing my most prized possession into the care of my beloved friend. United in marriage." He paused. "I can finally achieve the dream of uniting us into one big family," he continued, with a big smile on his face. Umi's face drained of color. She felt faint. She couldn't believe that her father was marrying her off like this. And not to anyone, but someone she saw as her second father. Someone who was as old as her father. She couldn't fathom why he would do that to her. All around her, people were cheering and celebrating the union. Umi felt like the world had ended. She looked to her mother in the crowds with tears dropping down her face. Her mom shook her head, signaling her not to throw any tantrums, cause that would only make the situation worse. Soon they were drinking and dancing. Umi couldn't stomach anything as she felt nauseous and sick. Her mom came to her, giving the excuse of she needed to prepare her for the night. The moment she got into her mother's room, she busted out into tears, crying uncontrollably. Her mother tried to console her, but to no avail. She then turned to her mother, asking her why she hadn't informed her of her father's plan. Why she hadn't tried to dissuade him, knowing her plans to introduce Issa to her father as her fiancé. Her mother looked at her helplessly and assured her she had no idea of her father's plan, and she's as equally surprised as she was. After Umi had calmed down, she then came to a resolve and told her mother that if she had to go through with this marriage, then she would kill herself. Her mother grasped in shock, shook her head and asked her not to entertain such thoughts, but Umi insisted on that. Her mother, afraid of losing her only daughter, hatched a plan there and then to help Umi escape. She informed Umi's maid and they went ahead quickly to carry out their plans. They made sure to keep the wine flowing at the wedding, making sure Chief Jatua, her father, and all the men present were drunk to a stupor. Soon, the final part of the wedding rituals came, where she was escorted by her family to Chief Jatua's house. On getting there, she was escorted into her wedding room. While the men continued on in celebration, drinking and dancing outside the house, the celebration lasted until midnight. Soon, Chief Jatua stumbled into the room where Umi was. She held her breath, praying to the universe that their plan works. He took one look at her, smiled and crashed on the bed, falling into a deep slumber immediately. She waited and waited and waited until finally her mates came in, telling her it was time. She stood in haste, struggling to run out due to her wedding attire. While they tried moving steadily out of the house, their plans came crashing down at a corridor, coming face to face with Chief Jatua's first wife, Rukeyatu, a woman who practically raised her. Umi shakingly clasped her hands in a silent plea, tears streaming down her face. Her heart felt like it was about to jump out of her rib cage. "Please," she whispered out, hoping Rukeyatu would hear her plea and turn a blind eye to her heart. The eyes of Rukeyatu softened. Then she turned and walked away from Umi and her mates, as though she has not seen them. With luck on their side, they were able to sneak out. They ran as fast as they could for hours on end through the night, hiding and ducking occasionally to avoid being seen. Finally, after several hours, they had reached the next town. Tired and hungry, she looked for a place to freshen up and eat. After which, they continued on a tavern where her mother had asked Issa to meet her in a secret message she dispatched the previous evening. On seeing Issa, Umi ran to hug him, shedding tears of relief and joy. From there, they departed to the city. Umi hoped to start her life on her terms over there. Months passed and Umi exchanged secret letters with her mom, who had informed her of the uproar her disappearance had caused. She told Umi that her father, along with Chief Jatua, had combed the whole town through and through in search of her. They have even gone as far as placing a bounty offering reward to any who had any information of her whereabouts or could even find her. The search has extended to her university, but at last no one knew where she disappeared to. Umi was worried that her father would try to put the blame on her mom, which he did, but her mother had assured her that she was fine and it wasn't anything she couldn't handle. She was sad that she couldn't go back to her village, knowing that if she did, the marriage would be enforced. 5 years passed. Umi and Issa had married and had 2 beautiful kids, twins, a boy and a girl. She had established herself as an architect and was doing very well. She sent a letter to her mom, informing her of her plans to come back to the village, in hopes that after all these years, since she was already married, her father would let her be. Her mother wasn't in support of her plans, but agreed nonetheless. Few weeks to her arrival, Chief Jatua had passed away. That brought a sigh of relief to her and increased her optimism of coming back, and also of her father accepting her back. On arriving the palace, her father had refused to grant her audience and ordered that she would be thrown out of the village, insisting that she was no longer his child. Her mother had rallied the women of the village and they insisted that if Umi was thrown out, they too will leave. The chief, the elders, and men of the village, fearing their wives, daughters, and sisters would all run away just as Umi had done, pleaded with her father, Sariki Dogara, to welcome her in. Begrudgingly, he did. On coming face to face with her, Sariki Dogara was overwhelmed with emotions and couldn't help when he hugged her. He had missed her so much. She would always be his pride and joy. He felt remorse for forcing her into such union. He confessed that he felt he was making the perfect decision for her, and he couldn't think of anyone more deserving of her. He then abolished the law that let fathers marry off their daughters to whoever they please, giving women the chance to choose their partners. That brought a lot of jubilation to the women and young ladies of the village. After a few days, Umi informed her father that she had married and had 2 kids. He felt sad that he wasn't there to witness it, and that she was forced to do so in secret. And so, to rectify this, he insisted that another wedding ceremony should be carried out, following their customs and traditions. Accepting her husband and children into the village, Umi's heart was filled with joy. Following Umi's footsteps, a lot of female children in the village were gradually being allowed to attend the university and pursue their passion. At last, Umi's dreams had come true. Thank you so much for tuning into Beijing's Folktales. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and comment for more folktale stories.